to the different behavior. And I think at that point of time, it's our job to make the experience seamless and consistent across sites and across providers to help with that education. So I think there are two parts to it. One of them is the part of the PayPal specific, the PayPal branding of how as a consumer you perceive PayPal. So I think that is more of a branding challenge on the PayPal side. But I think even beyond that, there is the concept of third-party authentication, whether you use Google or Facebook or Yahoo. I think beyond that, if I'm trying to get to a site, why I'm authenticating at somebody else is an experience that I think we haven't completely nailed down yet. At least that's my perspective. I'm sure other providers would give more information there.
I think what you're seeing happening today is that depending on the demographic and sophistication of the customer segment, you're seeing that different sites are giving more cues to users. So if it skews older and less technical savvy, then there's typically some context. So when you see the choice set, which is log in with your traditional username and password, or consider using a third-party identity, somewhere in that user workflow will be some description about why you might want to do it, what the experience will be like, what the benefits will be. And I think what you'll see is, as Ashish talked about, as time progresses and people become more comfortable with this, there will be less need to have that explanation in the context of the experience, and then people will start doing it and it will become a lot more seamless. But for those who aren't quite sure how their customers are going to react to it, they offer the choice of both, not just one. And they separate them out, and they have either a mouse over or a little text box above or below or to the side of the choice set that describes, and in some cases they even say identity provider specific. So if you click on the Google one, it'll say, here's the workflow you're going to have when you click on this Google button or when you click on the Facebook button. So part of the goal here, is to help find what are best practices to help you introduce yourselves to others who might have gone through some of these questions and figured out what's worked for them, make introductions, but also for you to provide feedback to the people who have the ability to contribute to a better user experience. So for example, I don't think anybody remembers now, but there was a time where in order to use a third-party identity, you had to type in b.yahoo.com/bkkissel. That was my OpenID. Well, that didn't resonate outside the kind of very technical savvy community, and so we went to more of a graphical user interface, and that was a step in the right direction. Google's done some pioneering work where you just have to type in the email address, and it will extract the identity from that, take you to the Google email identity provisioning service, so you don't even have to click on the Google button, because some people are more familiar with typing in an email address as part of the registration or login process. So we're learning as we go, but those are exactly the right questions, because ultimately what we want to do is, and Eric will talk about this in his presentation, is the net goal of this is to have better user experience, less friction, higher success rate. So if anything you're anticipating doing you think will detract from that, the best thing to do is to talk to others who have done it, or to the service providers who spend a fair amount of time trying to perfect the user experience. I think it really varies by the demographic of the user base. Universal Music Group on some websites, on Lady Gaga's website, I determined there was 89% of folks chose to, when offered the choice, chose to log in with a third-party identity. So it really depends on who the user base is. If you're AARP, that's probably not going to be the same.
Any other questions about Lady Gaga? Just refer them to the session.
So I think you brought up a really interesting point. I'm curious what sort of collaboration, if any, regarding CS tools and how you sort of provide retention flows for, okay, if you're going down the Google what does that mean when you get stuck, making sure there's the right context for the right, CS agents or even CS tools, sort of collaboration within the different, CS call centers, for example. Oh, well, I can't help you, but hold on, let me connect you through with, so-and-so over here.
So I think that's what we are saying, that the more reliant parties and retailers comes on board, and that we need a FAT for CSR, or we need a FAT first for RPs, that the moment you try to accept third-party authentication, especially if your demographics is a little bit older, this is the steps that you're going to go through. And one of the line item is you need to tell your CSR about these kind of questions and how to handle them. I don't believe that fact exists today, and I think collectively as this group, we should put that together and publicize it, and over time we should keep improving upon it as more and more retailers come online. At that, I'm going to give it to Eric to talk about what Google is doing. Thank you.
So I introduced myself.